Making passive income through something you already own or something that you're interested in owning is one of the best ways to take advantage of the sharing economy. You can do this with Airbnb and property, you can do it with Turo and vehicles, and the list goes on and on. But one topic we haven't talked about on this channel, at least in regards to the sharing economy, is land and how you can potentially use land that you already have or that you're already interested in buying and use the sharing economy in order to own that land for essentially free. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about in this video. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down a new side hustle that I just recently discovered, and this side hustle allows for you to use land that you either already own or that you are already interested in buying. It allows for you to make easy passive income off of this land. So let's get started. If you are anything like me, then you probably like the idea of owning land. I've always wanted to own land. I see a ton of value in owning land, but I'm constantly struggling with this internal monologue of wanting to own land, but not necessarily wanting to live 45 minutes to an hour away from everything I know and love. It's like I want to own land, but I also don't want to live 45 minutes away from my nearest grocery store, from my favorite fast food and restaurants that I love to eat at. And I know that in my market of Dallas-Fort Worth, that kind of is how it's like. It's very difficult to find affordable land that's close to anything convenient. And I know that this is also the case in other different cities and states across the entire country. And so because of this, I've been trying to figure out ways to creatively own land so that I can enjoy the land that I own, but I don't necessarily have to live on it in order to justify the ownership of it. Basically, I've been trying to find a side hustle that could allow for me to implement a passive income stream with land. That way I could own my land for essentially free, justifying the entire purchase. And I think I found a really cool option with this, and it is a platform called Tenter. Tenter is sort of like an Airbnb, but for campgrounds, and so it connects people that own land and campgrounds with people that want to stay at land or people that want to camp. It really is like Airbnb and Turo, but with camping rather than property and cars. But we of course have to acknowledge the name, which is Tenter, which is incredibly clever given the fact it is extremely similar to the dating app Tinder. Now, before we dig into what exactly Tenter is and how you can use this to your benefit, if you guys could do me a huge favor and if you could hit the like button and hit the notification bell for the YouTube algorithm, I would greatly appreciate it. This helps my channel grow because it helps let YouTube know that you guys are enjoying my content, and thus it pushes my content out to a new audience. So if you could do that, I would greatly appreciate it. So like I mentioned just a moment ago, Tenter is basically a website that connects people that want to camp with people that own land or own an area where somebody could camp. So let's say, for example, you want to camp and I own land that has a tent on it, or I own land that has the ability to have a tent laid out on that land. I could list my property out on Tenter, and then whenever you want to find a place to camp, you can go onto the website, search your city, state, or where you're wanting to go camping, the specific dates that you're interested in camping, and then Tenter will connect you with available properties. It works really similar to how other platforms like Airbnb or Turo work, and it even is very similar to more traditional platforms. It reminded me a lot of going to search for a hotel or going to search for a more traditional rental car. But the overall concept is pretty easy to understand. It connects people that want to camp with people that have land that can be camped on. Now, from the guest perspective, the entire idea of Tenter is pretty clear cut and cookie cutter. You want to go camping, you go on Tenter, you find a campsite that you can camp at. But where I think that this concept is really cool and offers a pretty unique spin is from the host perspective specifically. Tenter's whole objective is to connect landowners with campers, and the way that they allow landowners to connect with these campers is really two different and two cool ways. Number one is offering bare land. So this is if you're somebody that has land, but you're not interested in building out any infrastructure, you're not interested in really providing any sort of tools or support on your end, you just simply want to provide the land that people could camp on. This is their idea of just renting out a plot of land that people can pitch their own tent at or bring their own RV or camper van at. You really don't provide any resources other than the land itself. Now, obviously, this is probably the lowest barrier to entry method that you can use to get into this type of side gig, because you literally don't have to do anything. You just have to provide the land. And oftentimes this land doesn't need to be plumbed. There doesn't need to be any electricity. It just is a dry campground, which is really cool because it's a great and easy way for landowners to make some extra cash. The downside of this method, though, is the fact that it is pretty low earning. Whenever I was was looking through Tenter's database, the kind of bare, dry campgrounds that were offered were going for anywhere between $20 and $50 per night. And of course, depending on the type of campers that you had camping on your land, that may or may not be worth it. If you had a camper that rented out your plot of land and they were super respectful, they cleaned up after themselves, then sure, that's an easy $20 to $50 that you just made. But there is always the possibility that a camper isn't respectful and trashes your property, and in that case, I don't know that $20 to $50 per night would be worth it. With this low effort option, you keep 80% of your earnings and Tenter keeps 20%. This is of course a pretty standard thing in the sharing economy. You typically always have to pay out a portion of your earnings to the platform, and this covers things like technology, marketing, the staff that is there to support the platform, and things like that. But this is definitely the lowest effort, lowest barrier to entry option into getting into this type of side gig. Option number 2 is what Tenter calls Tenter Signature, and this is when you actually sign up with Tenter, you pay a fee, and then Tenter provides you with the supplies to set up your own glamping campground. This is basically a 2022 rebranding of camping that allows for you to think that you're camping in kind of a high-class, higher-end area, and you're camping in more of a bougie structure rather than just a pitched tent.
Why am I gonna love it? Sky Mall. Come check out my tent. I ordered a bunch of crap off Sky Mall. I got my TV, my Xbox, DVD, awesome bed right there. DJ Roomba's in the mix. It's like I'm not even camping.
They are basically the same thing. It really is marketing that differentiates glamping from camping, but I think it is a really cool concept. And this is called Tenter Signature, and very similar to just the regular plot of land Tenter that I just mentioned a moment ago, you keep 80% of your earnings and Tenter keeps 20%. But the real difference with the signature package is the fact that you do have to purchase a package from Tenter. And this basically includes all of the supplies that you will need in order to set up your own glamping campground. And how it works is you pay $6,500 to Tenter, and in exchange, they provide you with everything that you need to get started. You can see the images here showing what you get, and you get one Tenter tent, one platform, 2 chairs, a table, 2 benches, a loo, which is basically a toilet, a dry box, heater buddy, side tables, a bed, a mattress, mattress protector, privacy tent, a pop-up tent, water container, sun shower, garbage can, fire extinguisher, 50 loo bags, which is like 50 poop bags, 1 fire pit, 1 grill. And if we scroll through this pamphlet that Tenter provides showing off their signature package, you can see some of the different things that they offer, what all of these things look like, what it could look like if you have it set up, and you really get a full image of what you're getting for this $6,500 price tag. You do have to pay $6,500 for this, but Tenter does come out and set it up for you. They really advertise that as a big selling point, like with $6,500, you get all of these things and you get it professionally installed. But to be honest, for $6,500, I would probably expect for them to come out and install it, because $6,500 is definitely a lot of money, and they also get reoccurring 20% revenue from you as well. So I definitely don't think that $6,500 is cheap, and I don't think that it's like some added bonus for them to install it for you. Like, they absolutely should be installing it for you at that price tag. Now with this, you also get liability insurance as well, and you get the other support that you would get if you were just listing out a plot of land. So you get customer support, you get the platform itself, you get the marketing resources that the platform provides, some of those things like that. Now don't get me wrong, $6,500 is a lot of money, and I think that in this case of Tenter, I think that they would almost be better served by giving it to you at a steeper discount, because at the end of the day, they get 20% of all of your revenue. I think that they have a huge benefit of recruiting hosts onto their platform and almost giving them all of the supplies, maybe not for free, but at an incredibly discounted rate, say maybe $2,500 or $5,000. $6,500 does seem a bit expensive, especially if you're somebody that already owns land and may already own some of these pieces of equipment or some alternatives from this type of equipment. I think that a better route for Tenter to go down would to potentially say, hey, we'll give you this equipment for free, and at the beginning, we're going to take 40 or 50% of your revenue until this equipment has been paid off, and then we'll decrease our revenue share to 20%. I personally think that that would be a better option for them to pursue, but of course that isn't what they pursue. You do have to pay $6,500 for all of this stuff. But where I do think that it is cool is for those types of people that want to implement a pretty easy side hustle with the lowest amount of effort possible. The reality is, whenever you start getting into the realm of buying supplies, whether it be for a campground, for an Airbnb, for for an RV, you can get in over your head really, really quickly. To give you a personal example, HP and I recently bought an RV, and we've been trying to get that RV perfected for outdoorsy rentals. So for people to rent the RV and take it camping, take it to shows, take it wherever they need to take it. And we've learned that getting the stuff for the RV has not only been more daunting than we anticipated, it's also been more expensive as well. Buying things like pillowcases, mattress covers, sheets, blankets, tableware, foil, like all the types of things that you would need for a proper RV camping trip. And to be able to have all of those things provided to you so that number one, you don't have to put the effort into planning what you need to buy. Number two, you don't have to buy it. And number three, you don't have to set it up. There is undoubtedly huge value there that I think is really cool. And I think it's really smart for Tinter to offer it. Now, there are a few downsides to this platform that we have to talk about because I certainly don't think that this is a side hustle that will make you a millionaire tomorrow. Number one is the fact that Tinter is pretty new. They don't have that many listings across the United States. In fact, I searched my home area of Dallas and I was only able to find 2 listings, both of which were a couple of hours away. So this is definitely a new concept and there are not a ton of listings on the platform, and that would lead me to believe that there probably aren't a ton of guests to pull from either. This also comes into play with how much you can earn. On the Tinter website, it says that some hosts earn $20,000 per year, and you can typically list your signature tent setup for $100 per night. But to be honest, I'm not seeing that. I was looking on the Tinter website and I saw most campgrounds going for between $60 to $75 per night for the signature setup, meaning the setup that Tinter provides you with. And for plain plots of land, I was seeing them going for anywhere between sometimes as low as $15 to $20 per day, sometimes as high as $50 per day. But for those plain bare bone plots, really the highest that I saw was $50. So I don't see in any scenario where you are making on average $100 per night. I think sure in the summertime, in the spring, maybe in the early fall, you could make $100 per night during that season, but then you're going to see that drastically decrease during the winter months. And so that means I would imagine your average is probably going to be closer to $50 to $75 per night. And I don't see your campground being booked every night of the week. I'd imagine it is definitely a weekend heavy activity. Now, ultimately, when it comes to this type of side hustle, do I think that you should go buy 10 acres of land tomorrow and then rent it out on Tinter and use Tinter as a way to justify that land purchase? Absolutely not. I think that that would be a terrible, terrible idea. But where I do think that this type of side hustle has a place and where I think it is really cool is the idea of using Tinter as a way to justify a land purchase. Like, for example, in my case, where I am at some point in time going to buy land, it is without a doubt going to happen, but I need to figure out a way to justify that land purchase, and doing things like Tinter could be one of these ways to offset the cost of the land that I'm going to buy anyways. Now, another alternative to Tinter that I think could be a more lucrative option is kind of taking the same business model that Tinter offers, but then implementing it on Airbnb. I've seen a lot of camping-esque listings on Airbnb, people that build a kind of makeshift structure, they put a nice tent, and then they call it glamping. And I've seen this listed on Airbnb for more than what these Tinter listings are going for, and I think that that is a cool option as well. You would probably have to invest more money into this than you would if you were just going straight for Tinter, but I think that that is definitely a more lucrative path that you could pursue if you had the interest and you had the infrastructure to implement that type of thing, and then list that type of listing on Airbnb, where I think you could definitely make more money. I think that where this is really cool is for those people that already have land or people that are interested in buying land, and I think it's a cool way to diversify your plot. I think that you could have a property on Tinter. I think that you could have like a tiny home on Airbnb. I've always really liked the idea of almost building out a rental village and having a variety of tiny homes, campsites, RV parking spots, and kind of catering to the variety of different types of renters that are looking for a way to get out into the open wilderness and to maybe a more farm-like atmosphere. Really those types of people that just want to get out of the city into nature. And I think that there's a lot of creative ways you can go about implementing this in a really lucrative way. But like always, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it. So make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. And I will see you guys in the next video.